Some questions feel like debates until life puts one in your face. You do not need to believe in God to feel outrage. A child gets abused. A government traffics people. A company poisons a town, then hides behind paperwork and calls it legal. Almost nobody hears that and says, well, that's just their opinion. We talk like some things are truly wrong. Not just offensive, not just controversial, actually wrong. And that raises a question a lot of people avoid until they have to face it. If morality is just personal preference or whatever society agrees on, why do we talk like justice should exist, even when nobody agrees? That's the question. That outrage by itself does not prove God, but it does show how often we talk like right and wrong are bigger than opinion. To answer it, we have to stop mixing three different things together: moral feelings, social morality, and objective morality. Because yes, people can do moral things without believing in God. But if morality is truly objective, if it's real, binding, and not just invented, we still have to answer a deeper question. Where did that moral law come from? Let me start with the first lane. Moral feelings are real. Empathy, guilt, compassion, all of that is real. Most of us know what it feels like to be moved by suffering or bothered by cruelty. That matters. I'm not dismissing that. But feelings are not always reliable judges. People can feel guilty for the wrong reasons. People can feel no guilt when they should. A person can be shaped by trauma, culture, pride, fear, or self-interest until the reactions get warped. Feelings tell you something is happening inside you, but they do not automatically prove what is true outside you. Second lane, social morality. This is where laws, customs, and group norms live. Every culture has standards. Every community teaches what is acceptable and what is shameful. Some of that is useful and necessary. Societies need order. Families need boundaries. Communities need trust. But social agreement is not the same thing as moral truth. History is full of culture that normalize things we now condemn. A society can legalize injustice. A crowd can approve cruelty. A nation can call something progress while crushing people made in the image of God. That's why everybody says so has never been a safe definition of good. Third lane, objective morality. This is the claim that some things are right or wrong whether we like it or not, whether a culture accepts it or not, whether a law protects it or not. This is the lane people step into when they say slavery was wrong, not merely unpopular. Genocide is evil, even if a government signs the paperwork. Abuse is evil, even if the abuser explains it away. That language means more than preference. It points to a standard above us that judges us. This is where the conversation usually gets tense. Someone says, "So are you saying atheists cannot be moral?" No, that is not what I'm saying. Atheists can do moral things. Agnostics can do moral things. People from other religions can show courage, kindness, honesty, and sacrifice. Christians can also be hypocrites, cruel, manipulative, and abusive. Everybody already knows that, and pretending otherwise only makes the argument weaker. This is not a scoreboard about who behaves better. The question is deeper than behavior. What makes good truly good, and evil truly evil? You can recognize justice without being able to explain where justice comes from. People use math every day without understanding the foundations behind it. In a similar way, people can make real moral judgments while still agreeing about what grounds morality in the first place. So no, this is not about whether non-believers can care about people. Of course they can. The real question is whether a universe without God can give you objective moral obligation, real human dignity, and justice that is more than a social contract. This is where people often point to evolution, social development, and survival. And to be fair, those explanations do account for some things. They can help explain why cooperation helps groups survive, why empathy can have survival value, and why communities build rules to protect trust. That matters. Human beings are social creatures. We're not floating brains making up ethics in a vacuum. But explaining how moral instincts may develop is still not the same as proving that moral duties are objectively binding. A survival advantage is not the same thing as a moral command. If a behavior helps a group survive, that tells you it may be useful. It does not automatically tell you it's morally right. And if morality is only whatever helps us survive, the standard can shift whenever power shifts. If the strong dominate and call it useful, who says they are wrong in any objective sense? If the majority approves injustice, who can say more than, I do not like it? People say more than that all the time. People reach for words like fairness, dignity, and justice. They are appealing to a standard they believe should still hold when the system fails. You can feel this in real life when people in power get a slap on the wrist, while an ordinary person gets buried for the same kind of offense. And when institutions keep dodging accountability, people do not just call it bad luck or bad policy. They call it wrong because they want justice to mean the same thing for everyone, not just for whoever has less power. That's why the question of objective morality keeps coming back. And this is where the biblical view starts to make sense of what people already experience. The Bible does not say non-believers or robots with no conscience. It says human beings are made by God, and moral awareness is part of what it means to be human. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. That means human dignity is not assigned by the state, earned by status, or measured by usefulness. It is rooted in the one whose image we bear. And Romans 2 explained why people who do not have God's written law can still have a sense of moral accountability. For when Gentiles, who do not have the law by nature, do the things in the law, these, although not having the law, are a law to themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves their thoughts, accusing or else excusing them. That passage does not mean conscience saves us. It means conscience testifies. It helps explain why human beings know more than they want to admit, and why we spend so much time justifying ourselves. It also explains why our moral sense is real, but inconsistent. We are image bearers, so we recognize justice, dignity, and guilt. We're fallen, so we distort, suppress, excuse, and redefine what we know. That tension is everywhere. It shows up in the person demanding honesty while lying to protect themselves. It shows up in a culture preaching tolerance while crushing anyone who breaks the approved script. It shows up in religious people too, because moral accountability does not disappear when someone uses God's name. So is morality possible without God? If by morality you mean moral behavior, then yes. People without believing God can still do things that are genuinely kind, courageous, and sacrificial. But if by morality you mean objective right and wrong, universal human dignity, and justice that stands above power, the question gets much harder without God. Because once you move beyond feelings and social rules, you're already reaching for something bigger than both. You're reaching for a moral law that does not come from polls, trends, governments, or your mood. And if there's a real moral law, it's reasonable to ask whether there's a real lawgiver. This is not about winning an argument online. This matters when evil is done and you need that word to mean something real. It matters when a victim cries for justice and you know that cry is more than chemistry. Then it gets personal when your own conscience will not leave you alone, even after you explain yourself. A lot of people want morality without God because they want the meaning of justice without the authority of a judge. I understand the impulse. Human pride does not like accountability. Mine doesn't either. But removing God does not remove moral reality. It only makes it harder to explain why any of us should obey it when it costs us. If this question points beyond us, then the next question is not only, is there a moral law? It's, who gave it and what has he said? When you call something evil, what are you appealing to? Your feelings? Your culture? Or a moral law bigger than both? This is Unfiltered Faith, where we stop pretending and start pursuing the truth.